everybody, and happy Christmas to you. Here we are down at the Somerset webcam site. My name is Chris Sperring. I'm Conservation Officer for the Hawk and Owl Trust, and with me is my trusty producer, Mark.
Hello.
We've brought a few other friends along as well. He's called Elf and Safety, by the way. Right, so what are we looking at? First thing we're going to do is have a look at the Barn Owl webcam, and we can see, if you look at the internal view, you can see that there are some very grey looking pellets. Those are old, and we are looking at some very dark pellets. Those are fresh, which must mean, Mark, that they're still around.
They are indeed.
Yes. So Mark informs me that they're in most days.
Yep. Most days. Yep.
Do they still have a line of stock doves all waiting to get in?
No, the stock doves did have a brood at the end of this year, but it failed, and they've not been back since. They abandoned the nest and haven't been back. In fact, you could probably still see the parts of the eggs just on the top, the white bits on the top.
Okay. So the pellets that I'm referring to are obviously the fact that when the owls are eating prey, they tend to do so by, for instance, if it's vole size or mouse sized, they can eat that whole. And obviously the fur and the bones within there don't get digested, and they are ejected back out through the mouth some hours after consumption. And they come in the form of pellets. And if you remember back, if you're somebody that's been with us before, you'll remember that the female during the early parts of the breeding season actually spends quite a bit of time breaking up those pellets and actually using the fur from the small mammals to make a nest. Yes, something the books will often say is that owls don't make nests. Well, here we have a female barn owl who's actually using the fur to create a bowl out of fur. Nice lined nest. So they're not in, as you can see, and if we look on the external view there of the barn owl nest site, we see that wonderful barn owl box there, and they're not around the tree, so they must be out hunting, which, remember, I'm on the Somerset levels, and have we got an external view across the next moor we can show everybody?
Yeah.
We can see how much of a problem it is for barn owls down here at the moment. Can you pull up a... There we go. So that's looking from where we are out across to the next moor. And, okay, it's dark, but what you can see there is there's a lot of lying water on there. And there's been some quite significant rainfall in the area. Looks like we've got meteors falling down. And I know that 2 weeks ago I was doing farm visits just north of here, over the other side of the Polden Hills, and that's an area which doesn't normally flood, whereas down here it's a kind of... Is it familiar that it floods down here? Is that safe to say?
Moors doing what moors should do.
But yeah, exactly. So, and when I was doing my 2 farm visits there, it was quite incredible. One was close to Shatwick, near our Shatwick Moor Nature Reserve, and the other one was just south of Mendip. And at both, I had terrible problems getting there because of the amount of water that was coming off the surrounding hills. And there was actually a river flowing down the road into Shatwick village itself. And when I got to Mendip, the amount of streams which suddenly appeared off the Mendip hills flowing down onto the roads near Cheddar was just incredible. I must admit, I've never seen it like it. So there's a lot of water around at the moment, which is going to be a big problem for our barn owls in particular. But at this time of the year, they can probably eke out a living on these banks that you can see. So I'm looking across there, you can see the low-lying water there, and then on the far side you've got the banks, and you've got some grass on the near side as well. So and the other place that they'll tend to go to is the roadside verges. Now the roadside verges around here are minor roads, and they'll hunt along those as well, because those tend to be just slightly higher than the surrounding fields. So Although that's not true in all cases, is it? Because I noticed when I came through, it was quite flooded.
Yeah.
So there are problems certainly here, and this is one of the main heartlands for barn owls in the country. For this area to start getting affected quite early on in the year is quite something, and how that knocks on to the breeding season, we will only be able to tell in the next few weeks, obviously, as the weather obviously changes. We seem to be in a pattern of weird weather at the moment, where it's running from severe wet, and then suddenly we'll have a drought, we'll have a heat wave, and then we'll have beasts from the east, as we did in 2018. Two beasts from the east, actually. Should we go to Norfolk? Go to our wonderful Scothorpe Moor Nature Reserve. We're going to have a look at the tawny owls there. I'm not expecting them to be in.
Sorry.
I'm expecting them to be out. Gosh, it's dark there in Norfolk, isn't it?
We had to restart the stream, so my browser is not set up, so apologies.
Yep.
There we go.
There we go. That's the live view from our tawny owl box on Scothorpe Moor Nature Reserve, which is in North Norfolk. Not sure what the weather is there at the moment. Here in Somerset, as I was coming down. Sorry, I've got a friend here. Go on up you get. Oh. Right, there's a cat trying to get on my lap. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. We'll talk about mice later. We will. I promise you. So I'm not sure what the weather is like in Norfolk, but here in Somerset, when I was coming down, it's more like Cornish rain, and that, what I mean by Cornish rain is it's very light drizzle, but there's due to be heavy rain here later on tonight. But it looks fairly dry there in Norfolk, actually. And I noticed today when I looked at the live camera today in Norfolk, both tawny owls were present. So that was obviously the male and the female. It looked like the female was inside the box, and the male was actually stood on the outside of the box. Well, in the entrance actually. So at this time of the year, I would think possibly with the temperatures as they are at the moment and coming down the motorway, my van was registering a temperature of 14 degrees C. That was after the sun had set. So that's incredibly mild. So with those temperatures, tawny owls might go early, particularly if it stays mild. And I think the long range or the longer range forecast is for it to be very mild over the Christmas and New Year period. There should be adequate amounts of food for tawny owls if they do decide to start breeding early, because certainly here in Somerset, I can't speak for the rest of the country, but certainly here in Somerset, we've had a good berry season and we've had a good tree seed season. You only have to go near a beech tree and it's crunch, crunch, crunch as you go along because of the amount of beech mass there is. And that's food for things like bank voles, and of course wood mice will be storing their food. And the more of those that overwinter, the more of them that are available to breed during the spring, which literally kickstarts everything off. And I can imagine at temperatures as they are at the moment, a lot of our small mammals are actually breeding now. So tawny owls will respond to that sudden increase in food. So at the moment, I would say the calling of the tawny owls, which you're all familiar with. Of course, you're familiar with the no response from the cat. And of course, you may get a response of, and if you hear that, normally you hear that quite a lot during the autumn period. So that's the period between the end of September and December. Now it tends to tail off a bit, and there is still calling because they can call for 12 months of the year, but it'll tend to be the pairs that are calling. So in terms of doing a breeding survey, it's certainly during January that I would set off to look at my own local sites and really start tuning in as to who's calling. Get it? Get it? Who's calling? Get it? Get it? No.
Got it.
Okay. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Let me remind you all that you can send questions in if you want to. And Mark will prompt me if there's any questions coming in. He'll give me a big shove. I'll go that way very quickly, and that will mean that there's a question coming. And I'll do my best to answer them. So you've had a look at the barn owl box. You've had a look at a tawny owl box. Now, those boxes are a part of our Adopt a Box scheme. And if you're looking for that late Christmas present, here comes health and safety. If you're looking for that late Christmas present, what a wonderful thing to do would be to take out an Adopt a Box with the Hawk and Owl Trust. Go to our website, scroll along the top, and you'll see. Oh, he's doing it for me. Look at this. He's such a pro, this guy.
I'm trying to find it. I'm not sure where it is.
There it is. There it is. So if you go to our Adopt a Box page, there you can just, please note, receive your Christmas order. If you go to our Adopt a Box page, you can adopt a box. It's a wonderful present for somebody, a loved one, or and of course a late present as well. What was that disclaimer that came up at the beginning? Do you think? Can you refresh the page? If it comes up again?
I think it was about Christmas orders.
Please note, Christmas order must be received by Monday. I didn't see that. Well, they make very good birthday presents as well. And obviously Valentine's Day is coming up, and make a wonderful present. Adopt a Box will make a wonderful present for Valentine's Day as well. And our Adopt a Box scheme, don't forget, the money that we raise from our Adopt a Box scheme actually goes towards continuing our visits to landowners and farmers, and that's become incredibly important. It's certainly over the last 12 months. I made a statement whilst I was doing one of our Barn Owl Lives here, that we really need to start thinking again about what we do on farms, because of course there seem to be problems with the vole population. And one of the things I noticed when I went north of the border was that in some of the big rough grassland areas there, I was actually stood still. I wasn't stood still for very long before short-tailed voles started literally running over my feet. I don't get that here now. I used to, and I don't get that here now, and that can be part of the problem, particularly when we're talking about barn owls. So I'll be showing you some pictures later of some of the things that I've been advising on this year, and obviously that'll be things that the Adopt a Box scheme actually helps pay for with those visits. Right, so where should we go now? Go back to our barn owls. Hello. Right, me and the cat. What we've got in the flooded area. I wonder if we could put up your amazing map that you showed us of the local flooding.
Yeah, let's bring that up. That will be over here. There we go.
So if you use your cursor to just roughly circle around the area where we are.
It's not showing my cursor, but we are basically just here.
Right, okay.
So in the middle there.
So the hunting grounds for the barn owls here, the pair, are to the north and to the south of us. So south of us, you can see there's quite a lot of blue splash areas there, but there's extensive flooding across those other areas. I've lost the picture on my screen.
Sorry. There.
Coming back.
No, it seems like it's dead.
It's dead. Oh dear, we've lost our picture.
I've got a plan.
Yeah, there it is, back again. So you can really see the extensive area that's being flooded. Now, when you've got, I mean, let's be realistic. The Somerset levels floods, That's what it does. But it's the extent and how long it lasts can be a real issue, particularly for barn owls that are feeding on short-tailed voles that themselves are reliant on uh, a, a small mammal which is basically living on the surface of the ground in rough or rank grasslands. Once those get flooded, once those big areas get flooded, there's no such thing as an aqua field vole. And indeed, I must go farther and say that even water voles can be dramatically affected by that level of flooding that you can see there. And really hits home of the pair of barn owls that we've got here and what areas they've actually got to hunt in. It's actually quite limited, isn't it?
Mm.
It's narrow strips, really. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier about those minor roads and the verges being slightly higher. Okay, should we change tack slightly? Have we got any questions in? Is there anybody asking anything?
Nothing at the moment.
Right, goody goody. Okay, let's go to my pictures.
Okay. Give me a minute. So I'll bring this.
Okay, so here's a barn owl. This is
Sorry, going to the beginning.
Whoa, okay.
There we go.
Long-eared owl. Let's go to long-eared owl. We've actually started a major long-eared owl project, which you can actually get involved with. Now, what you need to do is that when you go for your winter walks near rough grassland and hedgerow, just go away from the hedgerow slightly and have a look inside, because once the hedgerow becomes as it is during winter, almost a skeletal version of itself in the spring and summer when it's full of leaves, you might actually see this familiar sight inside. So this is the long-eared owl. So if we say the tawny owl is roughly the size, head to tail, of a wood pigeon, then this one is smaller, but it's got those exaggerated ear tufts on the top. Very, very special bird. And during the winter, I used to notice that they used to be in my area in groups, sometimes very big groups. I had 19 in one group, in an ash tree, all decorated out like a Christmas tree it was. But as time's gone by, the amount of winter roosting became less and less. And one of the things that I want to know is this pattern being repeated across the whole country? Now, if you go to the Hawk and Owl Trust website, you'll see long-eared owl. There's a special category on there. Just click along the top, you'll see long-eared owl. Click on that, and if you want to participate in this survey, whether you actually find long-eared owls or not is incredibly important. If you've got the right kind of conditions, if you've got good rough grassland areas, long grassland areas, and you've got good, mature, thick hedgerows, just fill out that form and let us have it back. There'll be a few test forms going up there soon for you to have a look at, because I'm going to be doing them myself. And let's move on to the next one.
Okay, just quickly, we have a question come in. This is from Race Face 90. Good evening. I was just wondering why it is some owls that cannot digest bones while others can. I think the little owls can, but barn owls cannot. Apologies if I got this wrong, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well. Yes, well, I think all owls do absorb bone material once they're young, but they reach a certain time in their life when they stop absorbing it. There's probably some absorption taking place, and probably for things like little owls, its digestive system is obviously geared slightly different. It's feeding on a more of a variety of food than, say, for example, the barn owls are. So, for instance, little owls that I used to study would be quite happy feeding on earthworms, and the only way we would find out if they were eating those was soil debris in the pellets that was regurgitated. They'll also be feeding on a wide variety of other insects as well, and occasionally small birds, and then the rest would be made up with small mammals, although that could become almost seasonal. So that probably explains it for them. So certainly for the other owls, If you, and I've tried to do this several times, if you try and stick a small mammal back together again, it's virtually complete. If you try and do that for a raptor, obviously the diurnal birds of prey are absorbing bone material all the time. You can't do it. It's completely different. Okay.
Couple more questions if you're up for that.
Good grief.
Hayley Williams asks, are there many long-eared owls located in the southwest? I've not been lucky enough to come across one yet.
Very scarce, unfortunately. You probably have to go back to the. I was searching records back to the 1950s when we had really quite decent population of long-eared owls. It's deteriorated from then onwards. A lot of people think it's competition with the tawny owls. I think they're kind of operating differently. This is more, the long-eared owl is more a bird of the open countryside which uses the edge of woodland. Yes, they can come into conflict. Yes, the tawny owl is bigger, so it could predate their young. But I think my hypothesis is this, and this is why we're doing the survey at the moment, is that what we're now lacking is recruitment, and we're lacking recruitment from the continent. We're not getting those winter birds turning up that are occasionally thinking, hey, this is a good place, why don't we stay here instead of going all the way back to Norway or Sweden or wherever. So they're actually staying here. So we've lost our traditional long-eared owl population probably back 1950s, 1960s. Then we've had occasional eruptions which I think have been caused by wintering populations. And then as the continents become mild, my theory is that those birds on the continent don't need to come across in the big numbers that they used to. And what I'm trying to find out is whether that's happening across the entire country or whether it's just here in the southwest. Are there still long-eared owls breeding here in the southwest? Yes, there are. Very, very isolated.
Okay, one more question from Kay. Why are there a lot more tawny owls than barn owls? Is it because of their good camouflage?
Well, I'm not sure if it has anything to do with camouflage. It's arguable in some areas, particularly I would say around here, especially, that there's probably more barn owls than there is tawny owls. And I know that if I drive along the minor roads down here, especially around about dusk, it's almost like every mile you're going, oh, there's a barn owl, oh, there's a barn owl, oh, there's a barn owl. Where I'm not doing the same thing with tawny owls. If I was to walk through the lanes and be listening, I wouldn't be hearing as many tawny owls as I'm seeing barn owls. So there are differences. But if you go to heavily wooded areas, that would explain why, certainly there, you're getting more tawny owls than you are barn owls, because that's their area, that's where they live in. Again, because I've mentioned competition with long-eared owls, it's worth pointing out that some people have said that the tawny owls will predate barn owls, but again, they're operating completely different. Interspecies aggression is something that happens, it's natural. And if you've got a good population of both, it's arguable it doesn't matter. Those things happen. And I would say the only time that I've noticed interspecies aggression really get going is when you've got a big problem with the food supply. So if the food supply drops dramatically for a climatic reason, or a sudden removal of habitat, then you're going to get more competition between individual species. Those things happen.
Another question just come in from
Wow.
PK. He says, "Hi, if in the same area there are barn and tawny owls, who's the boss, tawny or barn owls?"
Good question. Well, I think you've got some footage here, haven't you? I'm not asking you to call it up, Mark, but you've got footage of tawny owls of a tawny owl near the box, haven't you?
I have, and I believe I could queue it up if you so.
No, 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 no. That's fine. That's fine. No, and I've seen on the. That's the beauty with these webcams, because we know so much more by watching them. And I'm sure there's many people who are watching this on YouTube that are follow this particular webcam very, very closely. And I know from other webcams, I've actually seen a tawny owl enter into a barn owl's box and the barn owl boot it out. So it's not as clear cut as saying one rules the other. It just depends, I think, on the circumstance. Should a barn owl go into a tawny owl box, what would be the outcome? Probably the reverse of what I've just said. They will, again, there's competition for nest sites, which is why we put up boxes. One of the reasons why we put up boxes. So you see competition for nest sites, that causes itself issues with birds going into boxes, thinking they're unoccupied, going in there and finding something else is already in there. Then obviously one removes the other, and normally I would say 9.5 times out of 10 it's the one that's already living there, no matter about the size, gets the other one out. And I've actually seen stock doves who have been in a box, again through webcams, stock doves that have been in a box before a barn owl actually get the barn owl out, which is something that you've not had here, have you?
We have had stock doves, the barn owl not nesting at the time, but we've had the stock doves on eggs. The barn owls come back to roost for the day and not gone in because the stock dove's there. They've not had a confrontation, but the barn owls looked in and thought, it's not worth the hassle, and gone off somewhere else for the day.
Yeah, yeah. And what the stock doves can do, of course, is they can whack the owl with their wings, and that's their primary defence. Any more?
Nope, that's it for now.
That's it for now. Thank you for all the questions. Wonderful. Happy Christmas to you all. Right. So we've just had our long-eared owl picture. We should have go. Yes. Now this is nostalgia. How about this, Mark? A beer. Yes. So we had in the year 2000, we actually launched this beer as part of a major project, which was actually on the Mendip Hills, and this beer was launched at the Mendip Hills at the Charterhouse Centre. And the reason why it was launched was that the long-eared owl was added to the local BAP. Now that's not two pieces of bread put together. That's the Biodiversity Action Plan. And I've still got that plan. And I'm very proud of that plan, because what it actually gave us was the ability to go into a lot of areas, farms and estates on Mendip, and actually begin the setting up of habitats for barn owls and for long-eared owls. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. And this beer, I'm told, got to number 2 in the beer hit parade. It was that popular. Yeah, it was that popular. Sorry, we're going to talk about mice later. Okay. Okay.
We have Raceface C90 says, I saw on a live stream a little owl dive bomb a barn owl as they were relaxing at their nest box entrance. It was a barn where both were nesting.
Wow. Yes. Yes. And again, the only time the competition will get really nasty at that barn is when, for example, the food supply drops. I must re-emphasise that. I've had kestrel and barn owl actually breeding virtually in the same box. So the barn owl was in the main barn owl box, which is exactly like the webcam box that we've got here. And underneath there was a little platform, a little tray, which was not put up deliberately, but it was done by the farmer, who put a little tray underneath, and in that tray was 5 kestrels. And so you've got the barn owls were there and the kestrels were there, and the barn owls fledged all their young and the kestrel fledged all their young. But out in the field surrounding that barn, if the barn owl had prey that it was bringing back and it was still light, the kestrel would try and get the prey off of it. and the reverse would happen, of course. The barn owl would chase the kestrel round, but everything was fine. Everything was fine. They both got their young off, and they were literally within touching distance of one another. Amazing, amazing result. It can happen. Don't never rule anything out.
2 more questions. John Taylor asks, apart from size, how can you tell the male and female tawny owl apart?
I would go on sound rather than size, because you know, within everything, reverse sexual dimorphism obviously is true in owls, but you might get larger males and slightly smaller females. So you could have a run of 4 tawny owls lined up that all look the same height, but actually, excuse me, but actually there could be a female amongst them. So I would go on sound. So it's the difference between if you're out in your wood tonight, or you're listening in a few days' time, you need the 2 of them to call really to compare. So one will go sound quite deep, whereas the female will be. Oh, you can't do it. That's my.
It's a wet whistle.
Yeah, I do need to actually. So, sort of like a semitone to a tone higher. I'm told it's to do with chemicals. We perhaps shouldn't go into that tonight. And normally, when the female screeches, it sounds quite a pleasing. When the male screeches, it sounds more like a give it, give it, give it. I hope that's helpful.
Fantastic.
Was that good?
Really good.
Thank you. Any requests?
We have another question from Hayley Williams. It seems like quite a good year for short-eared owls in the area this year. Why do you think that is?
Okay, can you zoom through
To
short-eared owls?
Oh,
sorry, we're gonna prompt this now. We'll go back. Yeah, go back one. And then what we'll do is we'll show the video. We may as well get that done now. So yes, you're absolutely right. I'm told it's 20 years, but I can remember in 2014 at least, at the Charterhouse on Mendip, within eyesight of the big tower there, I had nine short-eared owls in one field flying around. And there's a lovely story for that, because it's not an area that I was familiar with short-eared owls returning to in the winter. And I was at the gate with my camera photographing. This is one of those birds. So this is actually one of those short-eared owls. And basically, as I was at the gate taking the pictures, the farmer that owns the field came along, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm photographing these short-eared owls." So I showed him the picture. I had a digital DSLR, obviously. So I showed him the picture, and he said, "Wow, that's incredible." And I said, "Yeah, but there's 9 of them in this field." I said, "You've done amazing." And he said, "What have I done?" And I said, "Well, look at all the rough grassland here." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I was supposed to put the sheep in 3 weeks ago." And then we had a further chat about rough grassland. And he said, "How long will the short-eared owls be here for?" And I said, "Oh, they'll probably be here for another 2 months at least before they move on." And he said, "Well, I suppose I could keep the sheep down the other field then." It was brilliant, because the short-eared owls had a brilliant winter on that field. Yes, it's really good for short-eared owls at the moment. Again, we said earlier about rough grassland and long-eared owls. If you're looking for short-eared owls, you have a great chance of seeing these hunting actually during the daytime. So find some rough grassland, and again, areas of unkept grassland, and you'll be able to hopefully watch short-eared owls. Have we got that video? Is it?
Certainly.
Okay. So this is, can I just explain before you start it?
Yep.
This is our Shapwick Moor Nature Reserve. That's the Hawk and Owl Trust Shapwick Moor Nature Reserve. And I was leading one of my monthly walks. And actually, this was filmed on my iPhone, and it was fairly dusk, I would say. So the quality is absolutely awful, and I do apologise, but I'll talk you through it. Let's go. So here is a short-eared owl. See it drop then suddenly down into that grass and starts to gain a little bit of height. Classic hunting method here of the short-eared owl. Very similar to the barn owl if you're watching barn owls as well. Low moth-like flight. And now it's going to come into conflict, whoa, with a corvid. And that's mobbing. So, and the short-eared, don't worry about the short-eared. It's so agile in flight that corvid is no problem for this bird whatsoever. And in fact, you can almost get the feeling that the corvid's just slightly keeping its distance there. It's mobbing. It's a potential threat, so it's being harassed and chased away, and let's face it, put off feeding. So, and then as the crow leaves, oh, there's another one coming in. Gradually, the short-eared owl comes back to the field to start feed again. Classic owl-like flight there. Occasional flap, glide. Gradually descending, out of focus. It's only an iPhone, okay? I try my best. I try my best. And it's not a brand new iPhone. So we'll watch this all the way through, I think, because this is rather nice towards the end. See this gradual descent. I love this. Down it comes. Back to the field. Did you see the snipe go out?
Yep.
Yep, you saw the snipe, yep. And again, hover, bang, straight down. Brilliant. Thanks, Mark. That was excellent. So, yes, do go out and see if you can see short-eared owls. I'm not sure if we've got any on our Sculthorpe Reserve at the moment, but I certainly would have thought the coast of Norfolk. Somebody in Norfolk, correct me if I'm wrong, the coast of Norfolk should have good numbers of short-eared owls. If you're around in the West Country, I hear that most of the coastal nature reserves have short-eared owls, and a lot of the moorland, Somerset level nature reserves as well, and certainly our own Shapwick Moor Nature Reserve as well. Well worth a visit. Any more questions, or are we done?
None at the moment.
Okay, so that just reminds me to mention, we both will go through a few more pictures. Oh yes, yes. We were talking about long-eared owl. So yes, what a beautiful bird it is. And I've not got any requests for the call of this one. But when we finish our winter survey, obviously what we'll do then is move into the calling survey. And from the end of January, probably up until March, that's certainly what I would be familiar with here in southwest of England, is the greatest opportunity to hear them actually calling. They're generally quiet after that time. The young are very noisy later on, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So the call that you'll be listening for from the male in particular would be, it would sound like blowing air over an empty beer bottle. Now, it's not loud. It's not loud like the tawny owl that really booms out its call. The long-eared owl call is very subdued. And if you're going out listening for long-eared owls calling, pick your night. Don't go out on a windy night. A waste of time. You're not going to pick them up over any distance at all. You need nice, still, calm conditions. Any time from the end of January, just to re-emphasise, up until I'd say mid-March, particularly here in southwest of England. And you're just listening for that almost faint and you might hear a female respond with a and that the calling intensifies as it that's brought the cat back. That intensifies until it reaches its peak around about March, and then everything goes quiet, hopefully when they've started breeding. I've got to give a big plug for our friends in Hungary who've got long-eared owl webcam and did a wonderful article for us in our Adopt a Box magazine and our Peregrine magazine as well. And fantastic long-eared owl webcam. You'll probably find it by going to our Facebook page. You should find a link through there. If not, we'll post one afterwards. And thanks to our friends in Hungary there for such an incredible webcam. Okay, so the winter survey will move into then the breeding survey, and then we'll be looking at all the results that we've got. Best places to go and listen to them. This is a bird really that's living on the woodland edge. We always say that they're associated closely with conifer plantations, but obviously that's mainly because those plantations are, if you can imagine the square that you're looking at is a plantation. Those are on a rotational management, so there'll be areas or block areas within there which become clearfell, and it's that clearfell that then grows the grassland that they need to feed on. So it's quite normal that within a forestry area that you'll have ample amounts of rough grassland around that are attractable to long-eared owls. So here in southwest England, I would say the predominant prey item that they're going for, here we go again, it's our old friend the short-tailed foal. They will feed on a variety of other prey items and are able to obviously catch small birds as well. Right, let's go on to the next one.
Just whilst we do that, Raceface says it was on the Hungary barn owl stream that I saw the dive bomb. Dive bomb barn owl.
Yes,
I love their stream.
Yeah, the stream is absolutely excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Do me a favour, actually, Raceface. If you've got a link to the long-eared owl cam, I know it's not live at the moment, but if you could put that underneath your question, that would be amazing, because I haven't got it at the moment. That would be amazing. Fantastic. Thank you. Right, back to pictures. And what you're seeing here is some of the work that I've been advising on this year. So this is a rough grassland margin, quite close to a good mature hedge, good for long-eareds, good for barn owls, and it's probably got short-eared owls on it at this very moment. This is actually quite close to the top of Exmoor, and this was a farmer who wanted to do more to help barn owls. He's not taken out any scheme. He's not part of any agri-environment scheme, but he just wants to help do a bit more. And so he's left this edge, and that edge that you're looking at there also goes round this entire field and connects with other fields as well. So that's the type of thing that we go and advise on. And when we go back, obviously we check the boxes and we check the margins as well, making sure that they're working. So this is a margin in its early stages. Okay, next one. So what you're looking at here is classic rough grassland, and this is an area where I've actually had short-eared owls this winter. Not when I took this picture. And this area also has barn owls. So it has both. It has barn owls and it has short-eared owls at this very moment. And this is classic of where you would be looking to go to. Also, if you've got the lovely hedgerow down there and you can see the path leading alongside the hedge. This is a classic distance I would be walking, and I would continue walking through looking for that familiar long-eared owl shape. And it's quite interesting with rough grassland because there's not many fields that you see like this, and it's particularly when we're in an era of rewilding. We're not seeing as much of this as potentially we could do. Um, I think the answer is particularly over. If you look at the green fields beyond, um, the answer to the issue is again the margins. The margins work very well. You don't need whole fields like this. You can have margins, and margins can work providing that they're linked to field to field to field. You suddenly have increased the amount of potential for short-tail vole by a tremendous amount. Okay, next picture.
Okay, just whilst we do that, we have a question coming from Wayne Panel. He says, regarding little owls.
Hello, Wayne. How are you?
I have located a willow tree where little owls are, but there are also grey squirrels in the same tree.
Uh-oh.
Will this be a danger to the little owls during the coming breeding season?
Potentially, yes. Yes, it could be. There are probably many dangers for the little owls. And just so happens that we got a little owl picture up. Yes, it can be a potential problem. And again, like all of these things, they are potential. So little owl could be preyed upon by bigger birds of prey, by certainly its young, and its eggs could be taken by grey squirrels. And obviously in a barn situation, you can have the same thing taking place if there's rats in the barn. So rats can obviously predate eggs, that's what they do. So with all of these things, there are always issues, and you can try and minimize it as much as you like. But in the instance with grey squirrels, for example, I've just got a sneaking suspicion if you do anything, you'll just be creating more of a problem. So it's probably best to let that situation settle down. I'll tell you what, Wayne, it can be a really good idea, is you say you've got a box up, put another box up. In fact, put 3 boxes up. And if you've got other trees to go to, because you're giving the owls options. And the options to go in, they'll go to the one which doesn't have as much squirrel visits as the one that does. So they'll choose which one's the best one to go in. Give them options, always. Yes, this is the little owl, and across the whole of the southwest, the little owl has declined quite dramatically. Interestingly, you won't find it on any of the BCC lists. Do you know what, Mark? We conservationists love acronyms. Okay, what am I talking about? I'm actually talking about the Birds of Conservation Concern list. And the little owl won't be on there simply because it was introduced. It's an introduced species, but it's fair to say that the reduction is quite severe. Certainly in my own area, I live in a valley called the Gordeno Valley, which is about 3 miles wide, about 6 miles long. And within that area, we used to have a small patchwork of fields. Things have changed dramatically since certainly in the last 20-30 years, and it would probably be about 30 years ago which I would be regularly recording between 20 and 25 pairs. And during the lockdown 2020, it was part of my walk, and basically what I found then was only 1 pair left in one part of the valley, and that was it. And as far as I'm aware, they're now gone. So I think basically it's a change of habitat. It's also other pressures involved. Those little owls which I am constantly monitoring don't seem to have as many young as they used to, probably 20-30 years ago. So obviously that's a problem. When the number of young being produced starts to go down, you know then that the adults are going to have a big problem. This is not a long-lived bird. So if it's not producing enough babies, basically it's a mathematical problem. Did that answer that?
Yes, I think so.
Is there any more?
Not at the moment, no.
Put on Hey Dougie, somebody says. Yay, Hey Dougie. How about health and safety? Okay, next picture. So, yeah, just a comical one there. Yeah, no hooting, just for Christmas, that's all. Okay, next one. Barn owl here. This barn owl's locking on, and you can see the wonderful facial disc there. So that's taking in sound from the ground, and the ears are then able to pinpoint exactly where the sound is coming from. It's a great picture because it actually, it does show that bird's locking onto a small mammal ready to pounce. And again, next picture. And this is just to re-emphasize the fact that with Christmas, with birthdays, and with Valentine's Day coming up, don't forget, if you go to our website, a wonderful present for all three of those that I've just mentioned would be our Adopt-a-Box scheme. You could take out an Adopt-a-Box with us and give it as a present. What a wonderful thing to do. Next. We've already seen the short-eared owl. We've already done the short-eared owl. So productivity this year. I think we talked about productivity in the stream which didn't work, didn't we?
Yes.
We did. So I haven't talked about it now. I'm just catching up myself. So productivity this year has been, from barn owls, has been quite low across, certainly across the Somerset levels. So the average brood size, about 2.5, I think we worked it out to be. Certainly from this webcam nest site here, out of 4 young, only 2 got to the fledging stage. That was repeated virtually across the entire area. There were some pairs which bred later, which I thought were going to have much bigger broods. There was one pair in particular which had 6 eggs in July. She laid in July, and I thought she was going to have a big brood, but the weather changed dramatically for them, and they went down to 3 young, which actually fledged. Next picture. Just an R factor picture here. We're just looking at a youngster in a nest. 2 young for me to ring, but we recorded it. Go, the next one. And 3, oh, beautiful birds. Yep. These are ready to ring, and ringing is a part of what we do. Obviously, this is licensed by the British Trust for Ornithology, and you can see the lovely facial discs forming there, and you've got to the left the oldest one, and in the middle the youngest one, and then the one that's in between the two. We didn't put those in order, did we? No, never mind. Okay, next. Barn owl hunting over the Somerset levels. That's over a reed bed. Fading light. iPhone picture again. I'm afraid not very good, but it does show. It does show the. It does show a wonderful view there. I'm guessing that's a male bird. I'm having a close look at that. Floating across, and you'll probably want to know the difference between the two when you see them flying. So the best way to tell the difference is obviously if you've got the 2 flying at the same time, that's excellent, that's utopia. But if not, the lighter underside bird, lighter on the back as well, tends to be the male, and the darker on the back and darker down the front tends to be the female. Don't go by size unless they're flying literally on top of each other, which they don't tend to do that.
Is there a difference on the bars on the tail between the male and female?
Yes, more bars for the female, less bars for the male.
Thank you.
Oh, and this is the picture from Scotland. Unfortunately, I missed the voles that were running over my feet. But basically, what you're looking at there are vole holes in the ground. So they're not going under the ground; they're actually on the surface of the ground, and they're going. They're making tunnels through the rough grassland. But so these are surface holes where the voles will come out and actually run around on the surface of on the top of the grass itself. So the voles are living a most uncomplicated lifestyle. They're eating basically fresh green shoots of grass, living in tunnels and making nests in the grass as well on the surface of the ground. So they need that rough tussocky grassland. So ideally what happens that when we leave a margin, that it's left to grow for 1 to 2 years, so it forms a nice tussocky base, so the voles can actually multiply underneath. Next. Oh, young little owl. That was at a nest over, and so there's one area here on the levels where the little owls seem to be holding out, and that's actually towards Somerset. And it's quite interesting because the farms there are back to the old-fashioned small patchworks of fields, good mature hedgerows, and it's the one area where they're still doing reasonably okay, declining, but reasonably okay. Well, we'll save that one to last, shall we? So that's the happy Christmas one. That's fine. Okay, that's it. We've done those. Brilliant. Any more questions?
Nothing at the moment.
Okay, okay. So I think we need to wrap this up. I hope you've enjoyed this Christmas live show. Should we have a quick go on the webcams? Anything in the barn owl box?
Nothing at the moment. We're all quiet on the front.
Yeah. So nothing happening there. Nothing happening in Norfolk. Don't forget, if you go to our webcam in the Tawny Owl webcam. You show me that. Go to the Hawk and Owl Trust webpage and click on live cameras, and you should be able to scroll down to Tawny Owls. If you go there tomorrow morning, you should see the two there. Obviously tonight they're a bit busy. I think they might be out and about. But tomorrow morning they should be in situ, and it'll be interesting if you pick up anything that tells the difference between the male and the female. I'm guessing the female's in and the male's on the entrance. I actually have seen them both in the entrance. It doesn't look like there's any more room. I'll tell you, it's really quite squashed. I think we're done, aren't we?
I think so.
Yeah, we've told you about long-eared owls. We've told you about our adopter box scheme. I think we're completely done. I want to give a big thank you to Mark, who's put this show on tonight. Thank you, Mark.
You're very welcome. Apologies for the technical difficulties we had initially. We will get them sorted for next time.
And don't forget our 2 nature reserves. If you're in Norfolk, go and visit our Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve, and of course here in Somerset, or if you're visiting Somerset, come and have a look at Shatwick Moor, our nature reserve there. And at the moment, you might actually see a short-eared owl. Who knows? Wrong species. So the only last thing for me to do is to wish you all a super Merry Christmas and a fantastic New Year. And let's hope the New Year comes full of birds.